If it please the court. The courthouse reporter was sick one day, so they sent me in his place. The defendant, a plain white guy, late 30s, kind of small, cheap suit. Good haircut, charged with ugly counts of sexual assault plus kidnapping. He looked bored. Laurie Halse Anderson is an American writer first recognized for her novel Speak, published in 1999. The novel tells the story of a high school freshman who was ostracized by her peers for calling the police after being sexually assaulted. Anderson's novel is based on her own experiences of having been sexually assaulted and the traumas that she faced. In this poem, Anderson addresses issues of censorship and other problems which perpetuate sexual violence in our society. Shout by Laurie Halse Anderson. She went to a party with friends. Loud music, the night warm enough for the crowd to dance outside. Yeah, he was older, but older guys always showed up, invited or not. She had to go home, but she didn't have enough money for a cab. So, looking bored, he offered to drive her home. A gentleman. On the way, he asked if they could stop at his parents' house for a sec, so he could let out the dog. A puppy. No parents. Just a roll of duct tape and 24 hours of torture. As the police recited the details, the rapist yawned. Defense lawyer did his job by attacking the victim, shouting that she drank, she danced, she dressed to look good. She wanted it. She followed him. She liked it rough. As she cried on the stand, long blonde hair in front of her face, a curtain for her sanity. Ever been in a fight? Fists like hammers, punches thrown, rose red bloom filling the room. I saw that red as the victim shook, because she thought she was safe, thought there was a puppy. I saw myself crawling over the seats, leaping, throwing punches, busting knuckles, breaking a chair over his head, the sweet sound of his teeth skittering across the floor. My pencil snapped. Me, still in my chair, notebook soaked, sweat dripping down my face. Judge banged the gavel, bam! I stayed until the court emptied and I could breathe again. Defense lawyer negotiated a plea bargain. The rapist sentenced to some easy time in a county jail. A mild slap on the wrist. Years later, walking in the mall with my daughters, I see him again. That rapist. Only this time, he didn't look bored. Because he was hunting. Emergency in 3 acts. Act 1. Once upon a time, a year or so after Speak was published, a high school in New Jersey invited an author, guess who, to speak about a book. You know the one. Picture this. The author, yep, you guessed right, takes the stand for the first presentation, stands in the spotlight, owns the microphone, preaches facts about power and bodies and sex and violence, speaks up on fire. Intermission, but brief. 1,000 students tumble out, next 1,000 students roll in. Showtime. Act 2. The author, still me, opens her mouth, my mouth, but instead of spitting words, the fire alarm erupts, silencing me. It's the only way, Principal, quaking in his shiny black shoes, either terrified of parents or guilty as hell, can think to shut me up. The entire school mingles in the drizzly parking lot. A group of girls gathers around me, quietly, quickly, speaking of boys who touch them in the halls, pull them under the stairs, rape whomever they can get drunk enough on the weekends. The alarm bells keep ringing and ringing and ringing, but no rescue arrives. Act 3. When the screaming alarms are finally silenced, Principal tells me my day is done. Talking about sex and rape and bodies and touching and consent and violence is not appropriate for the children under his care. Because those things don't ever happen in his school. Innocence. Censoring my books in the name of innocence will not build the fence that you want. It is not a defense against danger or stranger, the friend or the foe whose hands want to know the feel of your child. The false innocence you render by censoring the truth protects only you. The word innocence, the opposite of innocence, is not sin, despite what you're told the Bible says. Don't get me started on the contradictions, omissions the bishops let slide, or the translation errors, or the scribes who lied. The opposite of innocence is not sin. The opposite of innocence is strength.